Reading has been one of those hobbies that I was really passionate about, that I really wanted to get into and really integrate it into my everyday life. And just somehow, time after time after time, I was not able to do it. And I really beat myself up about it just because I really wanted to enjoy it. I really wanted to grow my library of books. I wanted to invest myself in all these stories that are all over the place. And it was really hard for me at first, but I feel like I have a really good system now. I have a really good series of books. I found what works for me, and today in this video I want to share that with you. If you're stuck, if you're wanting to get into more reading in 2026 and beyond, so let's talk about it. I want to make this like a very casual, sort of just like hang with me type of video. I don't want to do like a lot of fancy b-roll and stuff like that. I really just want to talk about like reading as a whole. And as of the last couple months, I think I've really found my rhythm. I found my way when it came to enjoying a book, being able to like just unravel into the stories, and found a really good rhythm. Just in the last month alone, I've read about 4 books. I'm actually on my 4th book right now, and it's been really awesome to just be able to say that. Just being able to say that alone has been really cool, because I feel like I found that rhythm. I really falling in love with the art of reading, and I think over the years, like trying to get into the hobby or into the not art, but into the habit of just reading, picking up a book, reading 20 pages a day, 10 pages a day, little by little, even integrating just like doing audiobooks has been very, very helpful. I think for me, the biggest thing or the biggest hurdle that kind of stopped me from wanting to read or getting into the habit of doing so was because at least I thought that the books that I wanted to read were the books that I thought aligned with my expectations or what I was really trying to get out of the book. I really made it a chore for me when it came to like sitting down with the book and or just like picking a book in general, because I felt like it's something that I inside at least thought I had to force myself to do because it was going to make me a better person. I really started with trying to I hope they're okay. Because of my field and what I do for a living, outside of just being like a filmmaker and a photographer, I'm also a coach for video business owners. And I thought that when it came to reading, I had to really invest myself and really sort of like dive deep into like the self-help sort of like niche of reading. And although I do think a lot of those books do present a lot of help and they do offer a lot of insight, and are able to highlight a lot of things about oneself, I was able to pick a lot of those things that did help me in my personal life and also help me translate those messages to our clients and our students. And I think they're great. Self-help books are amazing. And there's a lot that I would even recommend. I still have a lot on my shelf. But at the end of the day, I felt like because of the role that I was in, I was trying to force myself to read those types of books. And in a way, I feel like I burnt myself out of the joy of reading. And I would even joke with my friends at the time and like my wife that the only books that I was supposed to read were self-help books because it tied into the identity that I was telling myself. I was sort of like bottling myself in a specific niche or corner, and I felt like if it didn't align with those things, then it wasn't worth my time investing into it, right? So I would joke that no, like I can't read fantasy because it's not really going to give me any ideas, like it's not going to help me proceed in life and stuff like that. And I couldn't have been more wrong about all of that. It snowed a lot here in Indiana, so if you hear my neighbor in the back, he's just like cleaning up his driveway with all the snow, like he's just coming back. Let's continue the conversation. So I thought that because of the field that I was in for work, that I had to just dedicate myself into reading or boxing myself into just reading self-help books. and I couldn't have been more wrong. I think I made a huge mistake by boxing myself in that specific, type of book to read, that I wasn't allowing my full creativity to flow, and I wasn't letting new ideas in. And as someone who loves anime and loves pop culture and loves playing Dungeons and Dragons, I mean, like, I have sleeves full of anime tattoos. So I felt like I was doing myself a disservice by not fully investing in like the time and energy into branching out into like other things, until my wife and my friends kind of like pushed me to read fantasy or just like fiction as a whole. So I gave it a try, and I first started getting into Throne of Glass. I was like, well, let's back it up a little bit. I decided to kind of just give it a shot, and I told myself, like, well, what's a really popular series that everyone's reading? Not going into what the series is about, or kind of just like diving deep into the rabbit hole of, let's find something that's like really, really good for me. So I picked something that wasn't, I had the gist of what like the Akatar series was about. So I told myself, like, I'm not going to read that. So I went with the other Sarah J. Maas series, which was Throne of Glass. And believe it or not, I got very far. I still haven't finished it because I, transitioned into just like reading a variety of different like other books, and I had like a sort of like a reading slump, like in the middle of last year. So I didn't read as much as I wanted to, but I did get very far. I think we are on Empire Storms right now, and that series as a whole really opened my eyes to like everything that could potentially be out there. There was a lot of themes that are reoccurring in anime. Like I said, I'm very invested into anime, and just like manga as a whole. So it was really cool to kind of like start to see the characters in my mind, and start seeing like the setting and the world expanding, and new things being added to the lore of what the story was, and like the battle scenes, and the hidden like dark themes, and even like some of the romance that's like in the series. It's really cool to kind of just picture it in my mind, because outside of that, I was really just reading like self-help books. Like, they weren't describing anything for me. It kind of felt like going to school. And although I am very passionate about the self-help topics to some degree, things like digital minimalism and like essentialism, which is one of the biggest books that had like a really huge impact for me, it wasn't pouring into my creative side and just like overall enjoyment when it came to reading. So being able to tap into that and be able to experience that through the Throne of Glass series was really great, which then allowed me, or like opened my mind to be like, okay, like, so like what else is next? Like, what else is out there? Some of the other books that I later dived into were the Mistborn trilogy. Finding out about fantasy and all these other things, I was like, well, what are some of the other like biggest authors that are out there, and what are some of like the worlds that they're building? And being a fan of Marvel, after like experiencing like the cinematic universe, and it went down the drain after Endgame. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Loki was very good, but man, I'm really, really hoping for a good home run here with the movies coming out this year. The series of books, like the Cosmere, kind of connects. They're different worlds, different series, different characters, different settings, and they're all interconnected by this like very vast, universe. I'm not very versed in like what the Cosmere kind of looks like. I haven't started Way of Kings yet, so I haven't really started the Stormlight Archive. But I said, okay, well, I know a Sarah J. Maas book. I can tell it apart from the other ones. So let me see what Brandon is cooking with this series. And I completely fell in love with fantasy after the first book. I mean, I even like started like annotating some of these things. It was just it was amazing. The style of writing was different. I can start like differentiated. Um, the Even just like the fight scenes here are like way more complex because of like the magic systems. So I really started to find my fun in finding out about these like things that were just hidden away in books. And like as a cinematographer and like a creative as a whole, I enjoy watching movies, right? Like old movies, classic movies, just going to the theater and being able to see the stories, things like Sinners and Dune and Oppenheimer and Interstellar are like amazing, right? The music, the visuals, the story, they really compel me. But there's a lot of gems just in books as a whole. And you're probably thinking like Miguel, like, okay, like Miguel like found reading. Like that's like it's a big thing, right? But it's like it's in theory, like no, it's not a big thing. But I was just so close-minded. Like I was saying, just like boxing myself in a genre, just going against my own beliefs was very imperative for me to enjoy reading. So after the first one, I had to read the second one, and then I had to read the third one. But to kind of just add to the experience of it all, I've tried, especially with the self-help stuff, to read books through like my Kindle or audiobooks. And it was either or, right? Either listen to it, like I've listened to a ton of books that I finished that I can't even remember or begin to tell you like what those books are about. There is one that I read without the audiobook that is my favorite book of all time, and it was The Alchemist. So once I read the book, and like the book made me cry, and like I understood everything that came with it, or so I thought. I read those books, then I took a break last year. I went back, reread this, and then started to like annotate it. Like another layer that I found when reading books is that, well, even though I already read it, like I still learned so much from this. Like I found new hidden messages that I didn't see the first time I read it because I was in a different place in my life. And it just like resonated. But once I started annotating, aside from finding new genres and cool stories, holding a physical book just does so much for me. And I think it might just be my ADHD that kind of just wants to feel like a physical object. And you walk in my room, walk in my office, like I have posters everywhere. Like I had a huge Funko Pop collection at one point. So I'm huge into collecting, like I said, pop culture. I think just having a tangible object that I can see, that I can like have in my shelves, and I can pick and grab and touch and feel and smell, adds so much to the element that like makes reading fun for me. So I think that's like another huge part of why I really enjoy and like took off with the love of reading. Outside from the stories, it's just being able to physically touch it. And again, I have ADHD, so like sometimes I'll have to reread the pages just because I'll read something and then my thought goes somewhere else. So the combination of physically reading and having the audiobook as well, sort of like tunnel visions, it like gives me this tunnel where I can just focus on what I'm reading. And I think that's been really, really awesome, really amazing, at least for me, in the way that I read and the way that I pay attention to things. I really want to just close off everything, all the sounds, and then just focus on the physical book that I have in front of me. And then at the end of the day, just being able to grab this physical thing and say, like, I read all of this. Just like, I'll joke with my wife, like once I'm like halfway through, and like I'll just go up to her like look, I'm halfway through, and it's just like a really fun, really good feeling. It's almost like you're knocking like several like serotonin like goals in a row. Like, yes, I'm reading. Yes, something like good is like happening. And then I'm also like advancing the pages. I think like the tactical, like analog pages and just flipping them, it's just so satisfying. So I fell in love with that, outside of just like consuming the media itself. So that's has been my experience so far, and I'm happy to say that I'm continuing that into this year. This month has been, like I said, the month that I've read the absolute most. We started a book club. I read This Is How You Lose the Time War. I read The Will of the Many, Sula. So like going outside of fantasy, I wanted to read more fiction, and like just like literature, like fictional literature, and things like Sula and like Stoner, going into like old like Stephen King novels, and finding new authors that can pull those stories into my head, or pour those stories into my head, has been so amazing. And it kind of starts to check the boxes that I want to check, at least going into this year, which is to live a more meaningful and slower life, which is what I want to kind of like portray into the videos, what I want to pour back into the videos that you guys are watching, because I feel like we're so ingrained in tech and AI here and AI there, and our phones are distracting us so much, and we're looking or scrolling on Netflix for like a really good show that, you know, it's probably not there, that it's more than likely going to be in a book that you have in the shelf, or a book that's in at your local library or your local bookstore. And I really want to push you, if you're watching this, to, you know, break out of the genre that you think you have to force yourself to read. If you're like me and you were into self-help books and you were really against reading fantasy because you felt like it didn't pour back into you, I challenge you to read some fantasy, read some sci-fi. Like, I feel like sci-fi is like a little bit more, like, less creative. Like, it makes you think less because it's not like fantasy and there's no powers and magic systems and stuff like that. More realistic to like everyday life, right? Like things like Dark Matter. It's like one of the books that I read like in December going into January. Like Dark Matter is like based in Chicago, and there's a lot of like realistic themes that could potentially happen. Like they're not too far off, especially with like everything going on in the world right now. And then you have like things like Dune, which is just like all over the place, right? Like just like almost like fantasy sci-fi sort of thing. So there's things that you can pull from all over the place, and I am very confident that if you give it a shot, you're going to find your favorite show in a book, and then later that book will get, you know, made into a movie or a show. Like Dark Matter was made into a show. I just finished reading The Institute by Stephen King. It turns out it's a TV series, or it's a movie, or it's a show somewhere out there. And I watched Dark Matter. Like I watched the show after I finished reading it, because there's a big old sticker in the front that says this is a TV show on like Apple TV. And let me tell you that the book is 100,000 times better than the show. So if that's better than the show, like I don't even want to give the time of day to like some of these other shows, like books turn shows, just because I read the book and I understand like the saying, like when people tell you the book is better than the movie or the book is better than the show, they are probably right. Maybe I'll make another video about kind of just like books as a whole. Maybe we'll do like a book review for some of the books that I'm reading. I'm excited for String of the Few. I finished Will of the Many, 10 out of 10 book. I really want to crack this. I have a lot of momentum right now. I think I could do it. The Will of the Many was also a huge book, and they're about the same size. And I went through this in like a week, and that's fast for me. Like you might read this book in like 3 days. I can't do that. Not yet, at least. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you guys posted. But I kind of want to just give you like my 2 cents on reading, how it's helped me, what my thought process was going into this, how I was able to break through limiting beliefs and barriers, and how I'm enjoying it right now and continuing to do so. And hopefully you find your enjoyment in reading as well, and you're able to integrate it into your life to continue the goal of living a slower and thoughtful life. So let me know in the comments down below if any of these books are in your TBR, if you've already read them. I would love to know what is in your TBR, like what are some of the things and some of the books that you're looking to read. And I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.